Check 1 2, checking the mic for Murders Most Found. Checking the mic one more time. Checking the mic one more time. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Of course. 300. Okay. Sure. Any books you read? How many books did you read last year? I know that.
And she said, a woman working in water. She had an answer, but she didn't respond. So the people are right there in April, right here. And the reason why they're so common is because this is when the original fight happened in 1937.
Now, the big question was what happened down that water, would the water, the state there, so on.
Actually, there's a gap there. And he went down there and for people and here he got the more and it should come out so much that he is
Okay, so we're going to be starting in about 15 minutes. I am expecting a lot more people, so y'all might need to get close in a little bit because everyone who doesn't have tickets that's sitting out in the reading room will have the opportunity to come in if there's any open seats. So get familiar with each other, down in. Thank you, and enjoy me on the screen. Yes, see every time I come up there.
All right, so this is the new edition. The new edition actually went out in 2015. And you think, oh, it's new, it's spooky, that happens over there. Laugh. So, spooky story number one of the new edition. So what's up? We have a little black square up there. That actually has a dresser. And with the screen up and down. So one day, we have the contractor in here working, and the projector keeps going up and down, up and down, up and down, and it's pretty loud. Up and down, up and down. Okay, and that's the good part of it. So let's just show up, and I'm like, oh, they've got me here, because that won't stop going up and down, and you need to look at it. And that's just like, oh, that is it, because there's no electricity hooked to it.
We did have to, we have a person who stuff. This is not too long ago. This is, where the person who worked there last 5 years and still working there. She was sitting down and she started to do it, sobbing cry. It was a faint sobbing cry. And this building, they had to find it. So, but she couldn't, she turned off the phone, she turned off all the phone, she started to system. And she felt like it's coming from the US. So she went down there and got a little bit out there, she got it. And she could hear from outside the door, just a faint sobbing cry. And she walked in and she got that. She didn't say anything about it for a time. She did tell her supervisor at the time, my phone number is now, a few months later, God, this is down the way. And so I was down all of a sudden she was sobbing, whispering something. She offered it. And there. Now, eventually, the two of that day, a lot of people have the same experience. They're very excited about it, and also very freaked out about it.
Another.
Oh, it's already plugged in. Do you have another one to put on?
No, this is for the remote.
Oh, here. Let me, there's a really, there's a little one right here. Might fit in there. There we go. All right, stand the man. I'll, gonna be all mic'd up today. Say hi to YouTube. All right.
Okay.
All right, you're hot. So, your PowerPoint should already be up. This is a video, so you just need to close that one out. Or I can even.
Okay, you can do it. I'll let you see where we're at.
All right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, to our program of Birds of Health. If you missed the first one, they're not connected, it's just extra more history. So, before we get started with tonight's program, I have a few housekeeping things that I would like to bring up. I have a list, bear with me. One, we are live streaming this whole event. The cameraman over here, this is Riley, he's live streaming right now on YouTube. So if you are in front of the camera, wave and say hi. All right, cool. Two, how many of you have been to the library before? Wow, how many of you have a library card? Shame on the rest of you. So on the main floor, you are more than welcome to get a library card. If you live, work, or go to school in the Evansville area, the library card is free. You can do that on the main floor, go to the elevator, it's for. Second, we are doing our half-pot renovation raffle. It's out front, if you missed the huge ginormous blue table with our director George in front of it, maybe shoot your eyes checked. So, half-pot tickets are $5 a piece, and they are helping with the renovation. Now, that doesn't mean that we're changing anything in the library. It's the old building that we love, and unfortunately, old things that we love are expensive. So, please don't. All right. So, I would like to give a massive thank you to each one of you for making this program a success. And before I get started with Dan, I want to share a quick true crime story with you about myself. So, once upon a time, I was young, and I met a boy online. I ended up marrying that boy, but I didn't know anything about him. You know how online dating is. It's scary. So, my true crime brain was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to meet him in the coffee shop that my sister owns, and I'm my brother-in-law sit at a coffee shop and watch us. And I may or may not have had daggers in various parts of my body. So we went on a walk, and my brother-in-law tailed us, and he ended up moving us. I believe I was so nervous, and it was the hottest day that I sweated so much that said daggers split out of certain places while I was ordering coffee. So after a while of being in our relationship together, my then boyfriend was like, "So question time?" I'm like, "Okay." He goes, so when I went up on the first date, I was drinking off the date with somebody else. Yeah. I said, "Okay, confession time." He goes, "What?" I'm like, I had daggers in places, and my brother-in-law tailed them, and also we were having to talk about that. At what point he was like, basically, I'm like, I could have listened. So that comes around to my mother-in-law at that point in time. My mother-in-law, yeah. But anyway, he told the story and tried to paint him the bad guy. Like, look how bad she is. She's trying to kill me. And my mother-in-law was a true crime junkie as well. And she said, "I like this girl. She knows what's up. You should date that one. I like her." So tonight's episode of Words from Style is dedicated to my mother-in-law. She was a wonderful true crime junkie, loved her to pieces, and she was always encouraging all the programs in my career here at the library. So a special dedication to her. So now let me hand it over to the historical true crime guru of Evansville, Stan.
There. That's it. Take your notes. Okay. Okay. Let's see here. I'll go from the beginning here. There. Okay. Good evening and welcome to Willard Library. Tonight's program, More Murders, Most Foul, is a continuation of the program we did last September. So these are all new murders there if you saw the one last year. And anyway, what this continues is we're looking at 19th century. Okay, need the third one there. Anyway, sorry. We were looking at more 19th century murders in Vanderburgh County. And I've picked 10 more different ones this year. And the murders that we're going to talk about tonight result from all variety of causes there. There's theft, there's jealousy, there's insanity, there's dysfunctional families, and just being in the wrong place there. Murder held the interest of locals in the 19th century, and it was good copy for the newspapers. It's one of those, let's see here, let's go. Where are we at? Whoops, slow. This 1880s, this is on the front page of the Courier there. This is one of the columns there when you looked at paper there to see what the important things were. So if you look here there like that, the dark side of life, and that's what this column is there. Yesterday's list of crimes and accidents, murders, hangings, embezzlement, railroad wrecks, drownings. That all goes to make the police news of a day there. And they were serious about murders in the 1800s there. They carried local murders there. If you really didn't pay attention, you would get murders that would go on for weeks, months there. And you'd find out then, if you really hadn't paid any attention there, that, oh, this is a murder in New York City that they're giving all this attention to. It's not local. It's one of those there. And then at that same time period, they start illustrating newspapers. There, it's before photographs there. And anyway, people there were interested in the graphic drawings that they were putting in. And they were putting in stuff there that, I mean, today would even be questionable there. And then stories like this there. They found a box down at the railroad station, and when they looked there trying to figure out where it was supposed to go and who was supposed to get it, they find out it's full of body parts there. And you can see there, there's part of the skull, there's the, a leg and an arm and stuff there. And the courier there, they were really, like that murder or ghastly joke there. And they went on, the courier people went to the railroad station then, and they opened the box there to see what was in it. And you can see there, then later then on the third picture there, it is the coroner went down then with them. And you can see he's got a stick, and he's got a good chunk of the rib cage there and stuff, there that they've illustrated with. But it turned out there, a guy who was at the medical school here, which is down where the old courthouse was there, he had bodies shipped in before there for class then, to learn then. Now this one, all the tags fell off and everything else there, so it was the big mystery there at the time then. But anyway, what you end up then, murder bounces all over the place here. John Augustus Wrights, the Wrights home there, rather important person in Evansville there. He killed a guy with a knife there. He was coming home from work at the mill, and two guys accosted him there, and he got cut slightly and stuff there, but he managed to get the knife away from the one guy, and he stabbed the guy, and it killed him there. Now, his brothers from the mill, they came up then and ran the other guy off then, and John Augustus Wrights didn't get any kind of trouble, but it was just like, some things that happened. 1800s, two separate incidents where police and sheriff's deputies ended up shooting each other there, and actually two law enforcement officers were killed there in this. And that's what I say though, it's one of those that the murder stories there get around. Now, other one there, and women are fairly uncommon in the murders there, unless they're the victims. But as far as being there, and the one here, this one real quick, both of these there are women there who killed their children there. First one there, they decided she was a little bit crazy there. She had taken her kids out in the woods there, and she had used a club on them there. Second one there, and this is also fairly common there at the time, unmarried women that had babies. In this case, it's in the canal. Other places there, it's in the privy in the backyard there, and it's something there. Now, when you get into pictures, then again here, these are the good ones there, like that. Jilted for the preacher, Lee uses his razor, and then you've got the jealous lover. That's Lee. He's in behind bars. They've caught him there. The wife there is the victim. They're up there laying there, and then you've got the amorous preacher there, and that's what it's one of those where when they did these there, it was to get your attention there as the pictures came in. Now this is another one. We'll get started now, but this is the attitude at the time there. When you look at this there, there's another fight, but Evansville is quite out of her own style if she fails to have a murder or two every month there. And it's something that did happen. There's times there where you'll have 3 different murder trials going on at the same time there. You'll get, in 1871, they're ready to hang the second person there, Ben Sawyer, who had killed his wife there. And in the papers at the time, there are 3 different murder stories going on there while they're getting ready to hang Ben there. So anyway, there. I picked 10 stories, and that's what I say. They're a little bit different there. I've got, different things there. But we're going to be looking at 10 different murders there. And in these 10 murders, there were actually 16 victims. So some of these are multiple murders there. And these occurred between 1852 and 1897. And a word of warning, some of the descriptions used are very graphic there. All except 2 of these are pretty much close to the city limits then. So, first one here, the Mueller family in 1852. And a lot of times there, when you see this there, it is the Miller family. It's one where you had a good German family and people kept trying to anglicize their name. It was either the M with the U umlaut or the UE there. Now, this one here, and that's what I've got this titled there, The Dumbest Murders in Vanderburgh County. Now, the Muellers lived out Mount Vernon Road there, 5 or 6 miles outside of Evansville. And there was a 70-year-old father and 2 sons. And on February 21st, 1852, about 10 at night, the horizon was lit up. There was a fire out in the country, and nobody really thought much about it until the next day. A neighbor came to the house for business there with the father, and they found the house had burned down. And inside the house, they found John Mueller there, the father. He was there in his bed. He had died, burnt up. The 2 other sons were in the front of the house, like they were trying to get to the front door and had not made it. They had been overcome by smoke. And everybody was convinced, oh, this was just a horrible accident. You know, the father and 2 sons there was a fire at night, and they ended up losing their lives. You know, they weren't able to get out in time. What came about from this, as they started looking around then, was the 3 bodies that they found there, they were already dead before the fire there. And apparently there, they'd been killed, the place had been robbed there. And anyway, they had mutilated the bodies then, and they set the house on fire. They were trying to destroy any of the evidence there. So it came out, though, that there was a counterfeit ring here in Evansville, in the area there, and led by Milo Dolly. And there were 6 people implicated then here. And what happened is, okay, they robbed the people, took anything of value, killed all of them, burned the house down, and then they started selling their stuff there. And not only did they start selling their stuff there, people that didn't pay or whatever else, they took people to court there. And then they started putting a mortgage on the house, and they started selling the property. And anyway, people started looking there, and you know, enough people had dealt with the Mueller family that these weren't their signatures on things there. So you end up then with Grigsby, Skaggs, Speltz, 3 of the group there. They all end up going into court for different charges there, for theft, for embezzlement, for counterfeiting, faking signatures, everything else there. But they all end up going to jail there. And it's not until they've got these guys in prison that they finally realize that these guys were the guys that murdered the family. And it's like, so the gang there ends up, all of them end up in prison. 2 of them die in prison. And while they're in prison, then people start talking. You know, you always get that. But none of them had ever were sent to prison because they had killed the Mueller family. It was for all the theft and everything else that was coming around there, you know, from the murder. So the Muellers there, we don't know what happened to the father and the 2 sons. They were out in the middle of nowhere to begin with, and nobody's been able to track down. They were probably just buried there on what was left of the farm. There. And anyway, there. And it's one of those, they really didn't know much about the family because they were these Germans out there in the country You've got the English language paper. Now, the German language paper next to it there did have a little bit more information where they came from and stuff. But at the time, uh, these papers, they printed the good news that we're going to get people there. And anyway, you end up here, and this is where they're going on, how they've arrested, the 6 people implicated there. And they've got them all in custody there. But again here, yet the poor old miller and his 2 sons have been sent to their final account by means of the most foul, astounding, damnable, appears to be the prevailing opinion of the community there. The future must develop the awful details and will await with trembling suspense the result of these developments there. Now, I mentioned there just real quick here. Here's the map there. Number 10 there, or no, number 1 up at the top there. That would have been where the Muellers lived, out on off one of the Mount Vernon roads there out in the country. So, and you got a copy of the map in your notes. Now, next one here, George Bates there. George Bates was superintendent at the Evansville Poor Farm, which at the time in the 1850s was located on Columbia Governor there. Poor farm at that time was, okay, you were elderly, you had no family. It could also be that basically you were crazy. There was no institutions there to put you for that, so they sent you to the poor farm. So George Bates, he had property around Evansville, and some of the people that were at the poor farm, he would bring with him downtown to help him work on things there. He had 2 homes down at First and Vine there that he was working on at the time. And he took Peter Buzzard, and he was German. His real name was Bossert, Bossert, but everybody pronounced it Buzzard. So he had been a long-time person at the poor farm. He had been sent to an insane asylum, and they didn't cure him, but they sent him back to Evansville then. He wasn't cured, but he wasn't harmful or a danger to anybody there. So you get there, George Bates brings Peter downtown with him. They're working on a house. George is doing wallpaper job on the house, and he tells Peter to go get some tools for him there. He's working there on it, and he continues working on the house there and doesn't pay any attention to where Peter is or went. Peter comes back in with an axe. The first time he hit him in the back there, and there. The second time, then he split his head open there, and he left him dead. But he goes next door to the neighbor there, Mrs. Gumbert, and he tells her that, oh, I killed him. He was threatening me, so I thought I was in danger, so I killed him. Well, she thought she knew who he was, and she thought he was crazy, so she didn't pay any attention to him. Her husband gets home at 8 o'clock, and she says, yeah, the crazy guy next door there. So her husband goes over and looks, and that's how she finds him. Her husband finds him. George is there down on the floor there, his head split open, his back split open there. And anyway, they called the police. They came and picked up Peter, took him to jail, and they decided after that, well, there really wasn't anything he could do to him there. He was crazy, and they all knew that, so they weren't going to charge him with murder there because that. So they sent him back to the poor farm there. So Peter there, he's at the poor farm. In 1867, and okay, this is what the poor farm looked like back at the time, the buildings there. But in 1867, in the newspaper, there's a report on the poor farm, and they have a little biography of all the people that are at the poor farm. And I'll give you a real quick here. Peter Buzzard, it's the oldest inhabitant within the walls. It will be remembered that it was he who slew George Bates, a former superintendent of the asylum. Peter never cuts his hair, hence it's of great length. His most pleasurable employment is to comb it and weave it into little plaits. There. This he does every day. Since he killed Bates, he has manifested no desire to kill any other person. There. And he ends up there until 1879. There, he's at the poor farm. There, he had been there, let's see, almost 40 years there of his life then, like that. And in case you want to know where we're at, um, see where it says Vanderburgh County Asylum. There, the diagonal road it would be Stringtown coming in. There, it used to come all the way to Columbia. The road along the bottom then is Columbia. If you go down along Governor, you see it says the Catholic Cemetery. That's that whole playground there north of the Catholic Church on the corner of Virginia there. But that was the poor farm. And you see way up at the top, you've got the pest house there, where if you had infectious disease there, the county didn't want you in the poor farm there. Next one there, the Evans brothers in 1861 there. These are Robert Evans, who Evansville's named after, his two grandsons there. You've got Paul Evans, they're actually John Paul Evans, and then Robert Evans there. And the two brothers did not get along at all. The Evans family there, if you read more on other parts there, was totally dysfunctional there. John, Paul, and Robert there, I mean, had threatened to kill each other for years there. They fought there a lot. People were spending most of their time trying to keep the two apart there. On January 7th, 1861, there was a big party down at the Mozart Hall, which would be down near First and Sycamore at that time. It was a big, you had dances, you had plays and stuff there. And anyway, Robert Evans was there with his girl, and Paul showed up. Both brothers drank a lot there. Paul shows up. He confronts his brother. He wants his brother to have a drink with him. Robert wants to have nothing to do with him, kind of goes away, and then it goes downhill there. The next thing you've got Robert up on a bench with his 6-shooter out there. He's got his big knife in his teeth there, and he's yelling at his brother Paul, who pulls out his 6-shooter there. And anyway, people try to separate them again there, and they start shooting at each other. Now, you've got more than 100 people here in the hall, so everybody's running for the doors. Everybody's diving on the floor. The third brother of the Evans family, Barry, the young one, he was very close to Robert. He hated Paul also. The next thing there, Barry's got his gun out and he's taking shots at his older brother, Paul, also. Somewhere in this, let's see, John Paul has been hit 3 times. Robert's been hit 2 times. And nobody's sure, but 16-year-old Solomon Gumberts, who was just at the party there, he's been shot in the crossfire there. And anyway, all 3 of them end up dying. They find Paul out down the street. He's died in front of the hotel on the steps there. Robert didn't make it out of the hall there. And then Solomon Gumberts, he lasted a couple days before he passed away. While this was going on, then there's stories there. Apparently, everybody else there who wasn't running was joining in on this. There was a German named Franks who supposedly also took some shots there. I think there it came down to they figured there somewhere around 30 shots had been fired there in the hall there. Anyway, Soletta Evans, who was the mother then of the Evans boys there, She had tried to get them back together. She knew a whole lot of this was because of alcohol. She had the boys laid out coffins next to each other there at the home there, which was at 5th and Main. And then she had them both buried next to each other out at Oak Hill there, which never would have happened otherwise there. She, because of the alcohol part involved there, she became a very ardent prohibition person there, like that. Down where the old Central Library, which is SEMO now, there Evans Hall was built, and that was for the Women's Christian Temperance Union. I mean, she put her money into that. She knew she'd lost her 2 sons because of alcohol, like that. There. Now, Solomon Gumbert's there. He, like I said, he was shot in the abdomen, and nobody's sure who shot him there. Some people thought it was Barry trying to shoot his older brother, had missed there. But he had a substantial burial out at the Jewish cemetery, which used to be on Washington Avenue. Then there. And that's what I say there. And just the way they did this there, I mean, this is paper love these kind of stories there, even though it's early there. Double fratricide there, this is in the family there. And like that. The cool, daring bloodthirstiness and the unnatural hate exhibited render this the most horrid case of violence we ever heard of. There, if the two had not been related and had come together in a bit of passion at each other, it would not have been unnatural. But for 2 brothers to attack each other with the deliberate purpose of killing and coolly murdering each other in their tracks was beyond expression horrible. There. And they used them though then as a learning thing for the people there, like that. And that's what I say though. You go through there. Now and then you had the coroner's inquest, and then that's what you get into there that John had 3 pistol shots from a pistol held by Robert Evans there, and then Robert Evans had 2 pistol shots from Paul then. Anyway, then poor Solomon Gumbert, and that's what I say, that's the one where, shouldn't have gone to the party, should have ran right away. Earlier, he was with the one brother with somebody else, trying to keep them apart and trying to get the one brother to leave then. And the thing was, after they each shot emptied their guns at each other, then they went after each other with their knives. Then, so it was not just across the room. Now, next one there, like that, and the Weaver family there in 1882, and this ends up as we never found out who did it there. The Weaver family lived at the corner of Maryland and St. Joe, there on the west side there. And what you come up with there is August 13th, there, 1882, there, Alex Weaver, he had a tavern. Every morning there, the guy from the Hartmett's Brewery in Babytown would come by with his wagon to see how much beer he needed. And when he comes by there on this morning there, nobody's home. Nobody's answering there. And they go into the house then to see what's going on. They find Alex, his wife Elizabeth, and the 6-year-old son Frank, all dead in the house. The 6-month-old baby is in the crib, still alive there. And anyway, and when you go to the next page there, their heads pounded to a jelly and their throats cut from ear to ear there. And they had people they thought might have been it, being the people that owned the building there. The Lenharts there had lived in there. Supposedly they had fought for years. there between the two. Lenhart wanted the building for something else, but the Weavers had a lease that they couldn't break there. So it was like, so what they find out here when they're looking at this there, the beer wagon guy, he discovers them there. The husband and wife are dead in bed. There, the 6-year-old apparently had tried to escape. He had gotten partway out of the room there, and then they found, let's see, in the bedroom there, the bureau, all the drawers had been ransacked. People were looking for stuff, for money then. And that's what say, and here's your early version there of the crime scene photo there. There's the house there. And if you look, let's see here. Here's where the father and mother were found. The baby was found in the cradle there. In the other room, then the 6-year-old, he was out of the bed. He's crossed the room then. They arrested the Lenharts, first Mrs. Lenhart, then her husband. They arrested several other people. They went through trial stuff, and as time went on, they kept dropping people then. They weren't able to prove anything. Now, the thing what comes out of this too, and this was back a little bit, some years before in the same house there, and it's anywhere between 1 and 5 people had been killed in another murder incident there at the same house then. And it's one of those where it's either happened in 1865 or in 1872, and it's sort of, you know, you can't really find anything there. Now, next one there. Jack Roach, and this one's a quick, short one here. There, Jack used to come to Evansville from Spotsville there and go on a tear and get drunk, and he'd get arrested, and then he'd go back home there. He got picked up as usual there, and he's in jail. And while he's in jail there, what they did, if you had nothing else to do, they had their the rock pile. They actually, prisoners there, you got your sledgehammers and you took big rocks and broke them into little rocks there. And they did that to keep him occupied there. While he's there in the, you know, in the jail, the rock pile place there, Harrison Jackson there was also a frequent visitor there, local. He was about to get out there, and he was not happy. He's there, my time's about out. I'm going to whip some SOB. They won't even allow us to talk to the women in the jail there. And he's complaining to the other. Well, Jack Roach there replied, "You haven't any business talking to the women." And it apparently ticked off Harrison there, because he took the large sledgehammer that he had and he put it into their Jack's forehead. Then he did it 2 more times then, just for emphasis then, there to make sure there. Well, he crushed in Jack Roach's skull then. Jack there, they took him home. There wasn't anything they could do. Mr. Harrison there, they sent him back to the jail part there. He didn't get out to go home like he thought he was there. And anyway, it's the one where he ends up then in prison there. He went in for life, which was actually, you know, fairly strict at the time. Most murder people there in around here there, you got convicted, but it was usually reduced to manslaughter or something, and you weren't gone that long. So anyway, Warren Gray there. This is another different one there. You have out on West Franklin Street there. There, Reverend John Temple is African Methodist Episcopal minister from St. Louis. He's here with his wife. They're visiting her mother on Fulton, I should say, there. And they've been over there a while. And the paper there, when they talk about people going a little bit weird there, they describe Mrs. Temple was an attractive person with numerous admirers back in St. Louis there. And apparently there, because of that, her husband wasn't in any hurry to take her back from Evansville to St. Louis. It was like, okay, if I keep her here, she'll be away from everybody there. She wasn't happy being here. She wanted to go back to the big city there. And anyway, she kind of drove Reverend Temple a little bit nuts there. He seized her by the throat there, choked her, and was yelling at her there and about her behavior and how things were going. And in the meantime there, Warren Gray, who they describe as a harmless elderly colored man, tried to intervene. He was choking her there, and he tried to separate them. Reverend Temple picked up a fence post and hit Warren Gray twice there on the head. The first one there, he split his skull open. The second one, he broke his neck then. And anyway, he ended up, he died right away. The minister, the last they saw him, he was heading for Pigeon Creek there. They thought he was trying to get back to St. Louis, where he had friends, where he knew more people there. They ended up catching him, and he was put on trial. And anyway, at the time there, in the preacher there, he's putting all his faith there in God. There is going to get him off this there. And his attorneys there are that he's crazy. So if God's not going to do it, there we'll try the other way. The prosecution there, they were convinced that he wasn't insane there, and so he ended up going to jail the same trip that the last guy, Harrison, there. They both went on this up to Michigan City at the same time. They're from Evansville there. Now, 1892, got Jack Robinson there. And my little thing there, you can tell this is a jealousy, another one here, there. This one, part of the reason I like this one, this is one of the first ones where they illustrate the whole thing there for you there, so you get an idea how good they're going here. You have, obviously he gets stabbed there. John Robinson, they called him Jack there, and this is how the paper described it there. It gives you an idea there how this one was. Now, William Kurtz is the one who's the murderer there, and Jack Robinson then is the victim there. Now, there'd only been problems between the two of them for about 3 days. They'd been friends forever there. They'd actually were in the same home there, rented space together there. But what happened 3 days before there, Kurtz there accused Jack Robinson of intimacy with Maggie Wright, formerly an inmate at a high street dive, which means she was a hooker there. A few weeks before there, Kurtz had furnished a home for her on 8th Street there, and he had claimed that she was his wife then. Well, the two guys are living together, and they're living in the house there with the girl there that he says he's married there, and they're all friends there. But in the meantime there, Robinson's telling her stories about what her husband's doing there. And apparently there is the stories about their your husband's fooling around there, and I think he was trying to get in good with her himself there. And it's the one where Kurtz finally gets mad at Robinson there. And here we go with the illustrations there. The biggie there. They meet there. Kurtz stabs Robinson in the chest there. 6-inch cut in his chest. His lungs were hanging out there like that. There. Robinson tries to run away there. Kurtz chases him, stabs him in the back, then again. And he fortunately passed out there in the doctor's yard, there on the street there, which didn't help him there, but it was at least he had there. Now, you get the second one there. Okay, the policeman has arrived now there, and Kurtz didn't keep running there. And then, the moral part of the story there is Kurtz in his jail cell there. The bad, evil person there, he got caught there. But anyway there, it's one of those there. Apparently there was something between Robinson and Kurtz's wife, or supposed wife. There was also then Robinson was talking about Kurtz to his wife there. And that's what triggered what happened then there. Now, Laura Hamilton there, we've got another kind of there. And this is June of 1893 there. Laura Hamilton there and her husband, who worked on the river, there had separated there. One of the main things, violence in Evansville, and it's a combination of the work they do and taverns there. Back in the 1800s, riverboat trade was really big here. You have the steamboats coming in and out, and they've got, crews on them that are looking to, to party and stuff there too. So you end up with a lot of violence down along the river in the bars and out in the streets there. People trying to, collect money. People there. There's one murder here, and we're not going to talk about it, but the guy, he killed the other guy because he owed 34 cents in bar tab there, like that. So he got, he's not letting him get by without paying there. Okay, so Laura and Dick there are having issues there. He's gone, and he'd been gone for a few months there. And in the meantime, then there, Laura starts hanging around with William Sims there. He's living with her there. He works in the stable. The husband there, Dick Hamilton, he works on the boat, so he's gone a lot of times. So they really didn't see much of each other. So anyway, what happens then is Dick starts coming back to see his wife because he wasn't divorced there at any point there. But anyway, and he'd come back and he'd threaten him. He'd come back, say he was going to get him. And anyway, he comes back and he goes to the house on 10th Street, and Laura's not there, but Sims is there. And Sims pulls out a revolver and convinces him to leave then there, and that we're not going to put up with this there. Hamilton left there after he confronted Sims with his gun. And then Hamilton comes back with his own gun there. And anyway, he follows Sims and Laura up the street there into an alley. He ran up behind them, fired 4 times there. He hit her in the head, killed her. Sims was shot in the arm. And in the way that things went at the time, which is strange there, Sims, though, was arrested for carrying a concealed weapon when the police came there, like that. Anyway, large crowd gathered there, and Sims ran to the river, got somebody there, got a rowboat, and he was gone to Kentucky there. And it was that a lot of times, if you could get over there, you could disappear. They still looked for him there, like that. But anyway, though, next there, and I just show you a little bit there. but the way there, shoots and kills his wife and wounds her paramour. There, jealousy is the cause of last night's crime. There. In the middle of this, they're having the inquest there. Um, Harrison tried to prove, his attorney tried to prove that it wasn't him who shot his wife, ex-wife in the head. It was Sims trying to keep him away there. His gun had gone off. Well, it was the wrong kind of gun there. So that didn't last long there. There. Now, this one here is kind of closer to me there, because it became the church I'm involved with there. In 1895, there, Pearl Dom, and that's why I say there, it's maybe I should have skipped going to church this week. Pearl Dom, her father was rather important in the Ingle Street Church, which would have been Ingle Street under the Lloyd up here. There became Central Methodist there at Franklin Mary later. But anyway, Pearl is they're having a series of revival meetings there at the church there, and she's been going on this night there. She's with her mother. She's sitting there, and this guy comes up, and first, depending on which story's told there, he wants her to come up front to the mourner's bench, up to the front of the church, where you'd come up, after the issue the altar call for the minister there. The other version, he was asking her to leave with him there. She doesn't know who this guy is there, and she just kind of averts her head and ignores him. And he comes over there in the pew then and puts his hand on her shoulder, and then he pulls out a knife and stabs her in the heart in church there. Now, she ends up there. He got the edge of the heart, so she lasted till the next day then. So they get the guy there, Rubberite there, and I guess they've all along there wondered about this guy, that he's maybe not all there at the time there. And this one here is one where one of the nice things now, newspaper programs on computers, like here at the library, you put in like Pearl Dom there, and this story made the newspapers all over the country there. It's not like you just look at, okay, you have her name, and okay, I'm just looking for Evansville. You see this up on the East Coast out west. People, again there, this was a story there that people there, an 18-year-old girl gets stabbed to death while she's at church there. And one more, and this is another one of the ones where to this day they've never found out who the murderer was there. Out on Lower Mount Vernon Road there, the Benty family lived there. And one morning, Dad goes out to do farm work. He drops his 9-year-old daughter off in one field to watch the cows. His 6-year-old son gets dropped off in another field there to watch the sheep. They're different there. And anyway, later on, the father comes looking for the girl, and she's not there. Her stuff is still where he left her, under the tree there watching. He searches around the field, back in the woods, and he finds her mutilated body there. And it's one of those where apparently she had been bound and gagged and taken to the woods. They found a 6-inch long, 3-inch deep cut. Her head was split open. Her brains were scattered on the leaves and grass, and her clothes were torn off there. And anyway, it's one of those where, using vernacular at the time, she had been assaulted there. This happened like at 10:30, so 11 in the morning there. By noon, there were 100 men from the neighborhood searching there. They found tracks leading from where they found her down to the railroad going to Mount Vernon. There, as you see at the top there, like that. Again, here it's one of the worst crimes in the history of the county there. And it's the kind where they even bring in from up in Seymour, Indiana, this guy, he had the famous bloodhounds that tracked down, criminals all over the state of Indiana there. And they follow the trail in along the railroad track going toward Mount Vernon there. And the Elbert Standard, they arrested him, and then they found out, okay, he had an alibi. He had people knew he wasn't there and stuff there. But it's the one where they start looking at who he was with. He was there with someone else there. And what had happened during this time period, they were working on the railroad. So there, all along there had been African Americans working on the railroad, and all the farmers along there had dealt with them, and there hadn't been any problems there. And anyway, though, they became the chief suspects because they had been working through there like that. So there, Mr. Standard there, he had an excuse then, but he had met another person there along the railroad track when he was walking back into Mount Vernon there. So anyway, and that's what it's saying. On the second part there, if you look down there, a large number of sightseers visited the premises there. By the second day, there were 1,000 people had been at the Benty farm to see where it had happened there, and to look, what was there. It's kind of one of those, you think of now there, but it was like at the time there, to go from downtown, down in Evansville out to the country there, just to see where, Lizzie had been killed. They had a second suspect there, John Spaulding. He had been in Mount Vernon. He had gone over to Morganfield, Kentucky there, and they were looking for him, and he was picked up over there. And anyway, it was one, he refused to be extradited back to Evansville. And they were waiting to get him. They were sure this must be the person. And if you see down there at the bottom there, they're waiting for him to come back. There, the entire police force is ordered to the jail when he gets back here, and they're to disperse the crowd. They've already had the militia there alerted there that because they were afraid if he got back there, there'd be a lynching there. Him saying no, and this is kind of a weird thing there if you think of it this way. There, the state of Kentucky decided there that they couldn't extradite him because it hadn't happened in Kentucky there, so they let him go there. And it's the one where, when you look there, the stories from across the river there, okay, Kentucky by doing this, possibly prevented the guy from getting lynched in Vanderburgh County there. Later on they found that there was enough evidence that it wasn't him. And this continues for several years. Whoops. Get to the end. A couple years later, over near New Harmony, a similar incident almost happened there. And they started looking whether this possibly was the same person there that had attacked Lizzie Benty there. They weren't able to prove anything there. The guy that they caught there went to jail for that. But the Benty murder there is one of those that, when you read through criminal stuff here, it's another one of those unsolved Evansville murders there. And let's see, I guess we'll stop here. Anybody have any questions there? Yeah. They were the grandsons there. Robert Evans there, that Evansville's named after there. Yeah, his two grandsons. And there's if you look later on there in the 1800s, there's even this article kind of like the Evans family curse, because you have these two brothers there, killed each other. Barry, the younger one there, that also was involved in the shooting. Him and three other guys in 1866 were out in the river in a boat, and they all disappeared. Only one of the bodies was ever found. So there was a third Evans son, grandson disappeared. There was only one that came out. There were four of them. And then the fourth one there, he had other issues came up then, but it was kind of there within the Evans family. There, things did not go well.
Cemetery on Washington. Is that moved?
It was moved to Rose Hill next to the country club. There, yeah. Almost all the downtown cemeteries, aren't where they used to be there. Where the Poor Farm was there, across there, that was the Catholic cemetery. Supposedly everybody got moved to St. Joe. That's supposedly. The same with the cemetery last summer there down at 4th and Vine. That was one they thought they had moved most of them there, but obviously they hadn't there. And that's what I say. There were other cemeteries like that downtown that, the one over Mulberry by the health department there, that was the first city cemetery. Yeah, all those people supposedly got moved to Oak Hill, but every time they worked down there, they would still find stuff. There. Anything else? There. There were lots more murders, people. There. But no, things weren't as great as you think they were. There.
We need an episode 3.
There. It's possible. There. No, and that's. No. Yeah, Don?
Was the Jewish